Welcome to the deep dive. Step right up.
Glad to be here.
Lately, it feels like, well, we're drowning in headlines about the potential dangers of artificial intelligence.
Oh, absolutely. It's everywhere.
You've seen the open letters, right? Maybe heard prominent figures comparing the threat of AI to, well, nuclear war.
Yeah, pretty heavy comparisons. It's serious stuff, and it's definitely captured our collective attention.
And for good reason, I think most would agree.
Definitely. The potential impacts of advanced AI on things like misinformation, jobs, or just surpassing human capabilities, these are significant. They absolutely warrant serious discussion and caution.
Totally agree. But what if, just maybe, all this intense focus on the future threat of AI is actually making us sort of take our eye off a more immediate threat?
Where are you going with this?
Maybe even a more proficient source of these very same dangers. What if we should be looking in the mirror instead of, solely at the machines?
Ah, okay. That's the provocative question at the heart of the source material for this deep dive, isn't it?
Exactly. We're digging into an article by Moran, Cerf, and Waytz titled, "If You Worry About Humanity, You Should Be More Scared of Humans Than of AI."
Quite a title. Sets the stage immediately.
It does. So let's unpack this. Our mission today is to explore their perspective. The idea that while AI risks are real and important, the warnings might be a bit of a distraction.
A distraction, how so?
Subtly diverting our attention from human behavior, our own biases, our decision-making flaws, which, the article argues, are already causing the problems we fear from AI.
Right. So the problems are already here, caused by us.
And here's the twist. They suggest AI might actually be our best tool to fix the human problem.
Okay, that is a twist. So it's not just about the dangers, but also the potential solutions AI might offer for human flaws.
Precisely. Now, the article isn't some AI fan club manifesto dismissing all concerns.
No, that would be irresponsible. They acknowledge the risks.
Yes, they do. Misinformation spread, job displacement, superintelligence, they take those seriously.
Good, so it's balanced.
But they have this fascinating counter-argument.
Which is?
They suggest these warnings, while necessary for, prompting caution, could be acting as a kind of red herring.
A red herring, a distraction.
Yeah. They argue that humans are, in fact, already incredibly skilled at causing the very threats we're mainly attributing to AI today.
So we're already doing a pretty good job of messing things up ourselves.
That seems to be the core idea. So it's not AI versus humanity in a simple cage match. It's more nuanced, more entangled.
Exactly. The article's position seems to be that AI could become a serious danger, sure. But right now, maybe its most valuable role is as a tool.
A tool to help us mitigate.
A much larger existing threat.
Yeah.
Our own human errors in judgment and decision-making.
Wow. That completely flips the narrative, doesn't it?
It really does.
It suggests we should focus on humans collaborating with AI specifically to improve our own critical decision-making.
Even in life and death scenarios, they suggest.
Okay. That's the approach the authors propose then. Using AI as a partner to enhance human capabilities where we're currently falling short.
That's the core of it, yeah.
All right, let's dive into some examples the article uses to back this up. This rather bold claim. Misinformation seems like a perfect place to start.
Definitely. We constantly hear about AI generating deepfakes, hyper-realistic fake news.
It's a huge concern.
Absolutely it is. But the article points to some compelling research suggesting humans are actually the primary drivers of misinformation spread.
Humans, not bots.
Primarily humans, according to this study they cite. It was massive. Looked at Twitter over a decade.
Okay.
126,000 stories, millions of people tweeting.
And what did that study find?
Well, the finding is striking. False news spreads faster than true news. We might intuitively feel that, but they quantified it.
Right. But the reason why?
The kicker. The study concluded this wasn't primarily due to bots or algorithms propagating it. It was humans who were consistently more likely to retweet and spread the false stuff.
So we are the original and maybe the most effective viral engines for untruths.
That's what the research cited suggests, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a sobering thought.
And the authors even note the irony that some well-known figures who've publicly warned about AI misinformation have themselves been documented spreading false or misleading information.
Oof, that adds another layer, doesn't it? the human inconsistency.
It really does. Now, here's where it gets, I think, really thought-provoking. Let's talk about those big existential threats.
Like nuclear war, the kind of thing mentioned in those open letters.
Exactly. The article takes that head-on by looking at how humans perform in scenarios simulating such threats.
Okay, how do they look at that?
They discuss empirical work involving senior leaders in war game scenarios, decisions involving weapons of mass destruction.
Wow. High-stakes simulations. What happened?
Well, the results were alarming, is the word they use.
Yeah.
The source states that these human leaders showed a consistent and alarming tendency to err on the side of initiating catastrophic attacks.
Wait, humans chose the catastrophic path.
Yeah.
In simulations, but still.
That's what the source indicates, yes. And here's the comparison point.
Against AI. Exactly. When AI was introduced into similar critical decision-making simulations, the research indicated AI's performance was superior in nearly every scenario.
Superior how?
Yeah.
Less likely to start the catastrophe.
That's what the evidence presented suggests. AI often made the less destructive choice.
Okay.
And what's fascinating, the article notes, is that often the AI's decision wasn't the human's initial gut reaction. It wasn't what they wanted to do first.
But
But after deliberation, after thinking it through, the humans often came to realize the AI's less catastrophic choice was actually the correct one, the better one.
that really challenges the narrative, doesn't it? That AI is solely the bringer of doom.
It suggests it could be a voice of reason, perhaps,
Hmm.
a check on our more dangerous impulses.
Where else does the article show AI performance challenging or even surpassing humans?
They give several really powerful examples, different domains.
Cool.
Okay, take traffic safety. We worry about autonomous vehicle accidents,
Yeah.
right? It's a valid concern.
Sure, every accident gets headlines.
But look at the human record. NHTSA and GSA reports. We're talking over 6 million accidents a year in the U.S., tens of thousands of fatalities.
Grim numbers. And the cause.
A staggering 98% are attributed to human error, mistakes people make behind the wheel.
98%. Wow.
So the article cites estimates that self-driving cars, even with their current imperfections, could potentially reduce this by as much as 76%.
76% reduction. That's thousands of lives saved annually.
Exactly. Directly mitigating human failure on a massive scale.
Okay, that's a compelling case. What about something like medical diagnosis?
Another strong example, they point to a large-scale meta-analysis, a study combining results from many studies.
Right.
Over 20 years, it showed that in numerous areas, like identifying brain tumors, for instance, machine performance is increasingly surpassing human doctors.
So AI can spot patterns humans might miss. Fewer errors.
Potentially fewer misdiagnoses, things driven by human limitations, fatigue, bias, whatever it might be.
And it's not just these critical safety areas, is it?
No, the article points out AI winning creative competitions, art, advertising.
Really?
Yeah, proving better than human experts at art authentication, even impacting the legal system.
How so, legally?
Helping correct wrongful convictions based on flawed human identification. And significantly shortening trial times, over 20% in some cases mentioned.
That's an incredible range of application.
It is. And this idea of a digital twin for leaders.
Ah, yes. Tell me about that.
The source mentions ongoing research into creating these machine-based tools, essentially a leader's digital counterpart.
That's the goal.
To replicate unbiased thinking, to aid human decision makers in really complex areas, nuclear strategy, climate response, the big stuff.
So again, AI is a partner to overcome our cognitive limits.
That's the recurring theme, yes.
Okay, let's tackle algorithmic bias head on. That's a huge, valid concern about AI.
Absolutely. That algorithms reproduce or even amplify human prejudices. It's real.
The article addresses it.
Yes, using examples like the Amazon recruiting tool. Remember that?
Yep.
Biased against women.
Because it was trained on historical hiring data.
Which was heavily male-dominated.
Yeah.
So the algorithm just learned the existing human bias. The bias originated with us.
Right. The machine didn't invent the bias, it reflected it.
Precisely. But here's the critical point the article makes, and they quote economist Senhil Mullainathan here.
What's the quote?
Algorithmic bias is easier to fix than biased people.
Easier to fix than biased people. How so? That sounds counterintuitive.
Well, they used the United Health algorithm example. It was found to disadvantage Black patients
Why was that?
because it measured health risk based on healthcare costs, how much money was spent on a patient. But due to societal spending differences, less was historically spent on Black patients, even if they were sicker.
So the algorithm wrongly flagged them as lower risk?
Exactly. A deeply embedded systemic bias reflected in the data. But, as the authors note, once that specific bias mechanism was identified,
You could adjust the algorithm.
relatively easily, yes, modified to remove that harmful correlation, measure risk differently, produce less biased scores. Yeah. Contrast that with trying to fundamentally change deeply ingrained human prejudices across society.
Which is much harder. A lifelong societal project.
A far more complex and difficult undertaking, yeah. The article also mentions other research showing algorithms producing less racially biased bail decisions than human judges.
Less biased than humans. That completely flips the script on the usual narrative.
It does. And interestingly, the article even highlights research where managers, say in hiring or lending,
Yes.
sometimes actively rejected less biased algorithmic recommendations. They preferred to stick with their own, potentially more biased, human judgments.
Wow. So we sometimes prefer our flawed intuition over objective tools.
It raises that question, doesn't it? Our comfort level with trusting machines versus ourselves.
Okay, let's shift to cybersecurity. Another area where AI is often painted as the new superweapon for hackers.
Right, the idea that it democratizes cybercrime makes sophisticated attacks easy for anyone.
That threat exists, surely.
It does, but the article offers a different perspective here, too. They argue that the vast majority of high-profile security breaches we actually see,
Yeah.
they aren't these sophisticated AI attacks.
They're human.
Largely human-initiated. Think disgruntled employees using passwords they shouldn't have. Simple coding errors by programmers creating vulnerabilities. Basic mistakes.
That IBM study mentioned, right? 95% of breaches caused by human errors. Phishing, downloading malware.
Exactly that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or look at the Jack Teixeira case, that leak of sensitive documents. It wasn't some AI hacking marvel.
It was a person with top secret clearance misusing access?
Precisely, the human element. So the authors make the case that AI in cybersecurity is often deployed as the last line of defense.
To catch our mistakes.
To detect complex coding errors.
Yeah.
Often made by humans in the first place. So AI is frequently cleaning up the human mess.
Okay. But what are the real AI cybersecurity risks then, according to this article?
They highlight a couple of concerning ones. One is AI relying on and maybe spreading flawed human-written code faster than before.
So amplifying human error again?
Potentially. And the other is AI simulating human communication styles, getting really good at phishing emails or social engineering to trick humans into making errors.
So AI exploiting human vulnerabilities, the human is still the weak link.
The human element remains central, yes. And interestingly, on the defense side, research they cite shows humans working with AI are much better at detecting things like deep fakes, machine-manipulated media.
Better than humans alone.
Much better. The combination outperforms the individual, technology as part of the solution.
It seems like the article is constantly redirecting our attention, doesn't it? Back to the human factor, even when technology is deeply involved.
That's a fair summary.
Like with concerns about AI causing massive unemployment, AI can do many jobs.
But the decision to automate, to replace human workers with AI or robots, that decision is made by humans, by managers, by executives.
And the article also points out that customers often still prefer interacting with humans anyway, right?
Yeah, there's often a preference there. It's not just about capability.
And what about when we blame, the internet or social media or the algorithm for big societal problems?
Like poor mental health, political division, threats to democracy.
Yeah, all that.
The article gently reminds us, these systems don't exist in a vacuum. They aren't alien forces.
They're built by us, used by us.
Populated, run, and often manipulated by human beings. Blaming the abstract technology can sometimes feel like a way for us to avoid taking responsibility for our own actions and choices within those systems.
It's easier to blame the algorithm than, say, our own confirmation bias or tendency to share inflammatory stuff.
It can feel that way, yes.
Okay, so if the article makes such a strong case that humans are often the primary problem and AI is potentially a tool to help fix that, why is the public narrative so intensely focused on AI as the main existential threat right now?
That's a great question. The authors introduce a concept here, drawing on other research, called the finite pool of attention.
Finite pool of attention, what does that mean?
Basically, research suggests humans have a limited capacity for how many major threats or worries they can focus on simultaneously. Our bandwidth for concern is limited.
Okay, look, we can only juggle so many crises in our minds.
Exactly. So when we dedicate significant attention, media coverage, public discourse, political capital, to one large, scary threat, like the potential future existential risk from AI.
our attention for other things decreases.
Naturally, the resources, the focus available for other threats diminish. And critically, this could reduce the attention paid to the threats posed by human beings ourselves.
The very things the article argues are the more present danger right now.
That's the potential consequence they raise.
That definitely casts those high-profile AI warning letters in a slightly different light. Important warnings, perhaps, but
Also, potentially draining our limited collective attention from the dangers we're already quite good at creating right here, right now.
It's about opportunity cost, in a way. The cost of focusing so much on future AI risk.
That's one way to frame it. And they argue that when we're assessing AI risk, we often fall into a specific trap in our thinking.
What trap is that?
We tend to ask, is AI perfect at this task? Is it flawless at driving? Flawless at diagnosing? Flawless at making critical decisions?
And the answer is usually no, right? Nothing's perfect.
Exactly. But maybe that's the wrong question. The article suggests the more relevant question
Is AI better than humans at this task?
precisely, is it better than the current error-prone human baseline?
And the article's position, based on the examples we've discussed, traffic, medicine, decision-making,
Is that in many crucial areas, the answer to that second question is increasingly yes, or at least it has the potential to be.
so AI can mitigate risks to humanity that are currently amplified, sometimes catastrophically, by our own very human limitations and errors.
That's the core argument they build.
Well, this deep dive has certainly provided a powerful counterpoint to the prevailing narrative around AI risk.
It definitely offers a different lens.
The article by Moran, Cerf, and Waytz, it makes a compelling case that, okay, while concerns about AI are valid, maybe we should shift some of that intense focus.
Onto the more immediate and pervasive dangers stemming from human behavior, human biases, flawed human decision-making, the stuff that's happening now.
Right. And perhaps most importantly, the source suggests that rather than just fearing AI as this looming threat,
We should seriously consider it as a potentially crucial tool, a partner, maybe even that digital twin idea.
designed to help us navigate and potentially overcome the very human limitations that currently pose maybe the greatest risks to ourselves.
It's a fundamental reframing of the issue.
It definitely leaves you with a lot to think about, doesn't it?
For sure.
You know, given that humans created AI and ultimately we control it, does leveraging AI to improve our own decision-making fundamentally change the source of the risk? Or does it just maybe amplify our existing capacity for both incredible harm and incredible good?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Is it a new risk or just a new tool magnifying the old risks inherent in us?
And maybe on a more personal level for you listening, what areas in your own life, your own decisions, could potentially benefit from some kind of external, less biased decision support, something to mull over?